Now, I bet that you've experienced this as well. You pick up a sewing pattern and it is listed as easy, right? So easy and fast. And then you get into making it and it doesn't take long before you're way in over your head and you just think this is not easy at all. In this video, let's talk about actually how you can train yourself to know what is going to be an easy or hard pattern for you at your skill level, so you can pick projects that are more suitable to what you're wanting and you don't get way in over your head unexpectedly, because we want you to have success with your sewing patterns and start with those easy ones that are easy for you, not necessarily just because it says easy on the packet. My dear sewing friends, welcome back. It is delightful to see your smiling face on the other side of there. If you are actually brand new here for the first time, then welcome. My name is Evelyn Wood and I'm the creator of VintageSewingSchool.com, and here on this channel at the moment we are on a bit of a roll on beginner sewing lessons, because I know you get so excited when you first start learning to sew your clothes, and that's everything we do here. And there are so many things that just you need to know before you get started that are really important. So if you haven't already, do hit the subscribe button down below because it will let YouTube know that you're wanting to know more and get the rest of this series, because I know it will really help you on your sewing journey. So we are, of course, talking about easy patterns. I can't even tell you well, it seems a little bit like they're lying to you, right? Sometimes, because you just think that was not easy whatsoever and you're way in over your head and the pattern just becomes a nightmare. And I don't want you to stop at that point and throw it out in the rubbish and stop, because there is an actual really easy way. By easy, I mean it is easy, a way to see if a pattern will be easy or hard for you specifically, because that's what it comes down to. What's going to be easy for you? Now, first of all, the reason why we maybe pick up patterns and think they're harder than they are is, first, that a pattern is not a learn to sew tool. So these sewing patterns were never designed to be something that you pick up and you learn to sew from. These were designed for at-home dressmakers to be able to have patterns and new fashions to make up at home, and they already knew all the basics of dressmaking and sewing. Obviously, that's not the way that we are in these modern days, and pattern companies have evolved these to be more user-friendly to beginner sewers. So they have listed like detailed instructions, cutting instructions, and all sorts of things here to help us along to learn to sew. But it isn't something that we're supposed to learn to sew from. So I've made other videos about that, but just want to put that out there first so that you know where we're starting from, right? In that, if you when you're learning to sew, there's lots of other things that you need to know on top of just picking up a pattern. So besides that, it's actually really easy, I promise. So the way that I look at it, and this is the way I teach all my students at Vintage Sewing School, it's come from what I noticed when I was sewing and on my journey and I was getting more experienced and just looking at different patterns, and I realized what I need to look at to be able to pick a pattern that was, say, in my skill level or had just a little bit above my skill level, that I could keep building and building and building, rather than going from like doing basic seams to a tailored jacket with welt pockets. It's just, there's the skill level isn't there. It's about a slow progression. And the way that I look at it is, as I said, now I teach everyone at Vintage Sewing School this same method. This is how I'm going to teach you today. So instead of looking at if it's labeled easy or hard, disregard all of that for now. How I look at it, and I'll also give you examples in a moment later on, is what I say is, how many things does the pattern have? And you'll always be wanting to have only one or two, say, new things on each pattern. Now, let me explain. A thing is a design feature, a sewing technique, something that the pattern involves, such as a thing could be a zip, could be facings, could be cuffs, could be bias, it could be, what else are we doing? Plackets, darts, waistbands, collars, did I say collars? Difficult fabrics, so actually using a slippery or super thick or super fine, a sort of difficult fabric is a thing that you'll have to do. Also, many pattern pieces I count that as a thing as well. And even trying different seam finishes can be a thing too. So I think you get what I mean there by when I say, how many things does the pattern have? Because each of these things are a skill in itself that we need to learn. And if there's just too many of these things, it is obviously just too overwhelming and it just becomes too much when we're learning, and we need to start simple. And that's why I say on each new pattern that you look at and you're deciding, only have 1 or 2 new things on top of what you know. So to know if it's easy or hard for you, maybe on a certain pattern you already have done facings and a zip. So you already got those covered, right? You're practicing those skills on your next one. But the new items might be that it has lining, or it has a piping, or maybe you're going to try a difficult fabric and have only 1 or 2 that are new to you to sort of learn, because then you get to cement and practice the things that you have already learned before, and then it's only 1 or 2 new skills, new things that you're adding into your sort of sewing skills repertoire all of the time, right? It makes sense, right? So of course, when you start your very first pattern, everything is brand new to you and it has lots of different things happening, and there's no way around that. But you can strategically start looking at sewing patterns and deciding how difficult they might be for you, even as your first one, and particularly once you've got that first one over with, from there, just being more strategic and really thoughtful and mindful about how much you want to take on, say, in a pattern at a time. Maybe you do want to jump leaps and bounds ahead, or maybe you do actually just want something easy, an easy make. This is how you can decide for yourself. Okay, I know this is best explained with some examples, so let's have a look at some here. Now, let's quickly look at this one here, this gorgeous 70s butterick tie-on flared sundress. Looks beautiful. Let's have a look at the back. Well, first of all, the easy thing we can see is the amount of pattern pieces. So only 4 pattern pieces. That's pretty easy, that's good. It has pockets, but the pockets are all in one in the seam, so it's just kind of, not too tricky. And we have a facing to finish, so that's another thing. And I mean, usual seams and hems, and that's really this one done. So this pattern here is really probably quite easy and a really good beginner project, because there's not a lot of pattern pieces, there's not a lot of different things going on that you have to do. It's quite simple to just learn putting a garment together first, and then say your next one you could add, maybe it has a zip closure and is a little bit more fitted. Things like that, you see what I mean? Or it has darts, maybe your next one. Those 2 things on your next dress, because you already have all this stuff down pat, and just work on a couple of new things. Let's have a look at this one here, for example. It's very easy by the looks of it. So let's see. So for view A, there is actually 9 pattern pieces in total. So that's quite a significant amount more. We also have darts, that's another thing, and I can see we have a back zip, so also another thing. These are facings, but there's actually 2 facings. You have a neck facing and armhole facing, so it's 2 different sets that we have to do. And you look really closely, it's got stitching here that is a visible top stitching decoration. This is stitch trim, so the stitching is a trim, which has to be really, really neat to get that right. So you can see this pattern here is going to be a lot more complicated and has a lot more things going on than, say, just this one here. So you can start to see how you can start to look at these a bit more strategically and choose which one for you at your skill level and what you have sewn before will be easier and harder to sew. So this is how I look at sewing patterns, and I really hope it gives you another perspective on how to look and assess these for yourself, gives you more knowledge behind you to choose better projects that you're actually in for, and you don't get sort of overwhelmed with accidentally picking a really hard project that you were not up for, of course. So let me know in the comments below how this are you going to apply this to your next pattern? I would love to hear how you will apply this, or what's going to help you with this down below. And before you go, I know where you are in your sewing journey. If you're just beginning, I have it linked down in the description box. It's down below this video. You just click the little button and it'll drop down. I've listed a lot of other videos there that I think will really help you with sewing patterns and choosing them, and particularly in sizes and all of that sort of thing, because it all comes together. So I know they'll be really helpful for you to watch next. So go to the description box for those. And until next time, my sewing friends, happy sewing. Bye.